Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to the JMOR Tech Talk Show, and we'll be starting momentarily. This is the place to ask those questions about PCs, technology, challenges with your iPhone, perhaps pairing it to your car, or maybe those smart devices that are supposed to make life easier at home or in the office, but just don't seem to. And now, please help me welcome the CEO and founder of the JMOR Connection Incorporated and the star of tonight's show, Mr. John C. Morley. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the JMOR Tech Talk Show, right here on the Starcom Radio Network. Thursday nights, 9 p.m. to 9:57 p.m., right here on the Starcom Radio Network. Last time we had a very interesting show, and tonight I invite you, of course, to call in because we have another great show again tonight. You can call us tonight. If you're listening between 9 o'clock p.m. and 9:57 p.m., you can reach us at 973-826-0981. And we would love to take your call on the air. 973-826-0981 is our phone number. And tonight, a lot's been happening with, where's technology going? And I guess more buzz is happening, again, about the iPhone and things like that. But what I've been noticing a lot is that many people actually out there from all different ages are kind of perplexed with technology. I'm not going to say it's hard for the moment, but I'm going to say some people find technology confusing. Maybe you can relate with this. They find it confusing. Why do they find it confusing? That's interesting. That's a very interesting question. I think it's because a lot of the stores out there, what they wind up doing is they confuse people intentionally. And I think the reason they do this, and it's not nice to say this, but they're doing this because they want people to buy more. Yeah, I know. But that's what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing this so that people can buy more. That's why they're doing this. And I don't know. People go in there to try to find an answer for something, and they're wondering what's going on, and then they wind up going in there to buy one thing, and before you know it, they're coming out with an entire new router and everything. So I'm sure this has probably happened to many of you. You go into a store, and, you go to purchase technology. You have in your head this vision that you want to come out and maybe buy a flash drive or something like that. And for whatever reason, you get into the store, and you get talking to the salesperson, and you wind up coming out with more than just that $30 or $15 flash drive. You come out with a whole new router and things like that. And I know a lot of these gadgets out there, they seem pretty impressive, but I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. The secret is this. Your router is actually probably not that bad if you bought it recently and you paid, didn't pay like $30 for it. I'm sure you paid a couple $100 for it. I think the challenge is that a lot of people, when they go there and they buy technology, they see things and they want to get the latest and greatest, and I hear you, believe me. But I'm going to let you in on a pretty big secret, one that the stores don't want you to know about. If you bought your router recently, which I think you probably did the last year, 2 years, or maybe even 3 years, you still probably have a very good Wi-Fi router. I'm sure it's past the WPA, wireless protection area, and has the private security key area, which is much better than WPA. WPA was the Wi-Fi that could get hacked in just a matter of minutes. It was actually 30 minutes, and then it jumped to being just a little bit shorter than that. So the pre-shared key is what took over the wireless protection, or we called it the WPA, and it was basically supposed to be a very inexpensive the wireless equivalency privacy, and that first rolled out with 802.11b. But I don't want to bore you on those details. What I wanted to tell you is that your router, if you bought your router within, let's say you bought it within 2 years, which I'm sure most of you bought your router within 2 years. If you go to the administrative tab, whether you purchased a Netgear router, you purchased an ASUS router, I've had a lot of people that have challenges with their networks at home. And you know what the problem is? They don't bother to upgrade their wireless router. You know what they do? They go buy a new one. And people that have the older router and just update the firmware actually wind up doing better, because the people that buy the new router never ever update their firmware. Same thing with the older routers too. But my point is that if you update your firmware and you check it, I mean, you should check it, I'd say a couple times a year. And the reason I tell you to do this, ladies and gentlemen, is because if you check your router and you're able to get the latest firmware, which only takes, I'm going to say, under 5 minutes to download, usually 3 to 4 minutes, and then maybe another 2 minutes to install. And it's very important, ladies and gentlemen, that whatever you do, you do not turn off your router and get anxious. Say, oh, it's not working. No, let that screen sit, okay? And it will go through and it will finish. Because if you get impatient and you try to go play with your router or reboot it or something, you're going to have yourself a router that's going to be no good. Now, there is a chance that you probably can reflash it, but you can cause damage to your router, and there is no guarantee that you're going to be able to reflash it back. Plus, you're also going to have to get the file, and if you don't have the file and you don't have internet access, well, you're kind of toast, and you're going to have to get it from somewhere else, or friends, or somewhere else. But my point, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you have a router and you just update the firmware, there's a lot of benefits. So what are the benefits? Well, one of the biggest benefits of upgrading your firmware on your router is a couple of things. One thing is you're going to probably get some faster internet, because there are routines that were fixed, and by doing that, it will make your router seem like a new router almost, and it will enhance its functionality. It may give you some new features. And, for example, Netgear has firmware, ASUS has firmware. Now, I have an ASUS at home router, and that router is very good. But the thing about ASUS is that they don't come out with firmware like every time people blow their nose. And that's good. That's because they want to make sure that the firmware they come out with, and don't select the beta firmware, whatever you do, don't select that box, because that firmware has not been fully tested. That's really what it's about. But I thought tonight we would talk about routers a little bit, because I've been getting lots of questions to the different kinds of routers on the market. There's lots of different routers on the market. And if we're to compare a lot of the different routers, let's say, I'll take a stab at, let's say we want to go to, maybe we'll look at Netgear routers, because I know a lot of people like Netgear routers. ASUS routers are very good too, I'm not going to lie to you, but the thing about ASUS routers is you better make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you know your password. Because if you do not know your password, I'm not talking about the wireless password, I'm talking about the router password. Well, on the ASUS router, you're not able to reset the password. I'm like, hey guys, why didn't they make a way to reset it? Because what Netgear does is they ask you to put in some security questions. Basically, they ask you some questions, and you answer them. They're case sensitive. And when you can't log into the router, it defaults and goes to the forgot password page. And then it usually asks you for the serial number of your router, which you get when you're local to it. You answer the questions, and you're good to go. Now, what ASUS did, what I thought was really good, is they actually added the ability, ladies and gentlemen, to when somebody logs in, and if they try to log in, let's say, way too many times, well, if they try to log in way too many times, like more than 4 or 5 times, you know what happens? The system will lock them out for about a minute. Now, you're probably, what's a minute? But it's kind of handy. Now, I know the router that everybody seemed to like many years ago was the N600 and the N900. That was the router that was pretty inexpensive. And I know some of you even had probably the 300 router, right? I know a lot of you had that 300 router. So let's just talk about some of these different routers. So let's really talk about them, because these different routers are really going to make they're going to make a very, very big difference. So we're going to look at the 9000 router. We're going to look at the we're actually going to look at the 8000, the 7000. I know it gets very confusing. We'll look at the 6400, and let's see. Let's also compare it, and we're going to look at the I told you the 600, the 600, and then the 900. So let's look at those routers. And again, they're good routers, but I know what you're saying, John. You know, I go to the store and I can go buy, for example, you know, a router that's a 900, for example. You know, let's just look at like simple a 9000 router. If you had to go buy a 9000 router, okay, and we compare it to 9000 to the 700 to, let's say, I'm going to say the 900. That's probably a good one to compare it to. And if we look at the difference on the prices, we're going to notice something very, very interesting. You know what that is? The fact is the prices are going to be very, very different. Well, why are they so different? Well, see, the 7200 router really tried to... I mean, that's the one that PC Editor's Choice likes and things like that. But if we're really to take a look at some of these, and again, just to be serious here for a moment, the big one that's really rocking the scales now is the 9000, okay? But again, a lot of people go out there, and they're very happy with buying a 6400, and then the other one I'm going to look at, as I told you, I'm going to look at the 900. So the 900 was the one that's been around for a while, and then it had the 4500, which kind of replaced that. But the 900 was a very stable router. Nothing really wrong with it. So you had the 600, then you had the 900, then you had the 750. So the 900 was also called the WNDR 4500. So that's probably the best way to explain that. But I know when you go out to the store and you see a router for one price, and then you see these other routers. So for example, if you're to go to any of the major stores out there, and again, this can change depending on, you know, where you're shopping and stuff like that. But if you're going to go look at an R9000, okay, you're going to probably find the R9000, that puppy. you're going to find that router for, I'm going to tell you, just under $400. And you'll be like, wow, under $400. Okay, but if we look at the router price, that is another router, which is going to be our, it's going to be our, let's look at the 6220, okay? So the 6220 router is a nice router too. That router is only $76.99. Then you have the WNDR 4000, which is a stable for a lot of people if they have like one level in their home and, you know, it's not too large. The WNDR 4500 is actually a very, it's a very popular, it's really a very popular model. Why? That one's $77.29, okay? And if we were to compare that one to, like, you know, the 62 to 6220, the WNDR is obviously better than that. But if we look at them, for example, the R7000 is a very nice router, okay? But if we look at the R9000, ladies and gentlemen, the R9000 is interesting, okay? The R9000, actually, I'll say it the R. So you have the R7000 starts with the AC 1900, okay? So you have the new standard of the 802.11 AC standard, okay? So that's going to give you some pretty fast speed as long as you have the right technology in place, not just the router, but also your network cards or Wi-Fi cards that can support that. The 6220 will also do AC, but here's the catch, ladies and gentlemen. The 6220, excuse me, will only do 1200. 700 difference between the 1200 and the 1900. Okay. Now the WNDR 4500, okay, does not do AC. Doesn't do it. It does 802.11n. Okay? So, most people are happy with buying, like a WNDR, but if you're going to use AC speeds and you want to have the AC 1200 or the AC 12, now you're going to have to go with the better router. I mean, that's just a given. So, just to compare them, I mean, you're going to, all of them come with 5 smart 10100, 1000 basically ports. 4 of them are for the LAN, and 1 is for your WAN connection, for your Ethernet. And they're, like I said, they have the auto sensing technology. For example, the WNDR comes with 2 USB 2.0 ports. The AC, the one that's R6220, comes with 1 USB 2.0 port, and the 7000, ladies and gentlemen, comes with 2 USB ports, 1 3.0 and 1 2.0. That's nice, because if you have technology that basically supports 3.0, you can use it. Remember, it'll always go backwards. So you can plug a 2.0 to 3.0, but if you plug a 3.0 to 2.0, it's not going to go to the faster speed. It's only going to go to the 2.0 standards for Universal Serial Bus. So the Wi-Fi speeds for a 7000, ladies and gentlemen, takes the 600 plus the 1300. And thus, we get the number, ta-da, 1900. But if we look at the 6220, okay, we're only going to get, ladies and gentlemen, the 300 plus the 867. So we're going to get 967 on that, okay? So you're really not getting, you're getting, we say 1200, but 8, 9, 10, 11, you're getting 1167. So you're really not technically getting 1200. For practical purposes, you probably are, but you're really not getting it, okay? And just to let you know, to have AC and these other standards, everything has to kind of be perfect. If it's not, you won't operate at the higher speeds. So if you're, let's say, playing around with some old cards and you just don't have the right environment, or things are not working right, you're not going to get these speeds. Things have to be really pristine to get the max speeds for an AC condition, okay? And the stricter it is, the higher the standard is. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, if we were to look at the highest standard for AC technology, so the AC's highest wireless standard that we have today, in the U.S. right now, has been adopted for quite a while. Okay, and that speed, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out to go get the biggest that you can get right now, you're going to get 1.3 gigabits per second. Okay, that's the 802.11 AC. So that transmits into a 166 megabit per second, or 1331 megabits per second. It's about 450 megabits per second, so it's quicker than the 450. And the thing about it is, the higher the AC technology, the latest. So because we have different versions, as I mentioned to you, of the AC, right? And I think that's the part that gets a lot of people confused, is that there are these different things. So if you ask them in the store, how fast can I go with AC wireless? Well, they're going to ask you, which AC do you have? Because there are some, as I just explained to you, that will go at the one speed, and then there are others that'll go at the other speed, right? So 19 is a pretty popular one. So the 900, again, if you have old laptops and things like that, you're probably going to be very, very happy with the 802.11n, okay? And assuming you have a small home, your line of sight isn't, it's not too bad. It'll still work without line of sight, but it works the best in line of sight, obviously. If there's walls, it's going to impede a little bit. So I think a lot of people want to go to a store and they want to pick up a router, ladies and gentlemen, for, I'm going to tell you, under $100. That's kind of like the magic number. Some people will spend 120, 130. Okay, they'll spend that. I think they'll spend that. But the R9000, as I was telling you. So we have the AD7200. And the 7200 is actually the R9000. So the R9000, as we were just talking about a moment ago, that's going to set you back a little bit of change, okay? The R9000, if you're going to go buy that, it's going to cost you almost $400. It lists for a lot more than that, but that's what you're going to find around $450. Now, the R9000 is a very nice high-end system. It's a 1 gigahertz dual-core processor, okay? So it can handle that 600 plus the 1300. It's very well for the 1900. It uses beamform to improve the range for both the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz spectrum. It has high-powered amplifiers. It has airtime fairness, so it prevents network lag, so you can prioritize network. You might be familiar with this called VLAN tagging. Quality of service is really what it really is, where we can decide that maybe voice traffic should get priority over data traffic, because if voice traffic doesn't get priority, then our calls are going to sound muddled if we're using, let's say, voice over IP or wireless phones or things like that. It is cloud ready, or they call it Ready Cloud, which is their little proprietary registered trademark. So we can actually to enjoy personal and secure cloud access to USB storage anywhere. Smart Connect lets you select the fastest Wi-Fi band. I think this is really cool, ladies and gentlemen. There are a lot out there that have smart technology in it, but if you get a router with smart technology, here's what's cool. You set up your router, and you set up the, usually I just call mine Smart something. And the nice thing about it is, when you connect to it, your device will automatically figure out what it needs to do to connect, which band, how is it going to connect, and what's going to be the best way. I think that's really cool. A lot of people don't even know to enable smart technology. What I will tell you, though, is if you're using some older devices, and they're in like the 2 gigahertz, you may have to take that out of the spectrum for some, so that they can go direct to it and don't use the smart. So it's not gonna be able to sense that. That'll happen on some of the older devices. But smart technology is really good. That's helpful if maybe you have a TV set, and that TV set you're not sure how to connect it. You go to smart Wi-Fi, and whatever your device can handle, it's automatically going to connect to the most efficient and fastest connection that your devices can handle. So you can also share your photos from social media, and now if your Nighthawk router is attached with USB storage, you can do that as well. You have the ability with the 9000, you can now have what they call Open VPN Connect, apps on iOS, Android, things like that. They have free automatic backup software now for Windows. They call it PC and Time machines as well. They have that support. And it's compatible for Macs. They even have a customized free URL to set it up. So what does that mean? Well, a lot of times when you go to, let's say, the setup of your router, you have to go to an IP address, right? Or you're using a wizard. So if you're using, let's say, a Netgear, Netgear has its own URL for basically setting up routers. And now you're going to probably ask me a very interesting question. How do you get to this URL, okay, such as if it's called my router or router, some of them are different. How does it know, ladies and gentlemen, where my router is? Well, that's a very interesting question. It uses the reverse of what we know. You know how domain name services work, right? So domain name services, you give it an IP and it gives you back the word. Well, what this does is really good, is it does it the reverse. So it takes the name and translates it to an IP. Okay? So when you use DNS and you type a word in, DNS will look up and say, hey, where is this? It does the same thing. It'll take that address, but where did it get it from? Well, when your router came onto the network, it actually broadcasted itself and said, hey, I'm here, everyone, and I've got this IP address. Oh, and by the way, I want you all to know that I live at the router, or whatever it is for the particular one. It might be my router, Netgear router, whatever it is. And you type it into your bar, and you're automatically connected to it, and it's just a very easy way without you having to remember what the IP is. So that's handy. I like Netgear. I think Netgear is a nice product. I do like Asus. I think Asus makes a little bit better of a router, if I had to be honest. The quality seems a little bit better. Not much, a little bit. I do think that the one thing I don't like about the Asus router is they don't have the one feature that allows you to reset your password if you forget. Otherwise, you're screwed. Pretty much you're screwed. Now, if we're going to compare this to, let's be fair. Let's look at an Asus router. Okay, let's be fair. So an Asus router, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to kind of, I'm not trying to be biased here, but I want to tell you that these two routers are good. There's certain names I just would not recommend you going to, and you can pick up Asus routers from $39 up to their prized possession. Okay, is the AC5300. Now, not everybody needs that. That's a transfer rate of 5,034 megabits per second. I mean, that's just sick, okay? You can get one of their almost top-of-the-line models, okay, like their AC9300. You can get that, and, you're going to get at the AC66U, you're going to get a 4-port, and you're going to get 1,300 megabits, okay? If you go to the 3200, ladies and gentlemen, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get 6 ports, okay? Now, this will set you back just under $300, about $280 roughly. So it's going to give you the technology, ladies and gentlemen, to give you transfer rates at data rate of 3,200 megabits per second. But remember what I said to you. That's one of the highest ends of AC. So we had how we started off. We went to the 1200. So we talked about the different ones that you could have, right? So the one wireless I mentioned that you could have is you could start off with a speed that could be 1200, and that was the beginning of it, okay? People were happy with that. Then they did the 900, and what they did with that is, and then remember the 1200 one isn't really 1200, it's really 867 plus 3, so it's really, okay? So it's really coming out at 1167. So we're shy a little bit from the 1200. But on the 802.11c, the higher standard, which is on the 7000, you're actually going all the way up to a speed, ladies and gentlemen, which is pretty nice. You're going up to a speed that's giving you 13, 14, 15, 17. You're getting a true 1900. I mean, I think that's sweet. Now, on the Asus RT-AC 3200, you're getting 4 network jacks, okay? One USB 2.0 and one 3.0. That's all great. You're getting the 2.4, the 5 gigahertz. You're getting the smart band technology. So you're going to support A, B, G, 11, and AC. Supports IPv4, IPv6, Wi-Fi standard for wireless networking. Everything's all there. It has the smart ports of 10, 100, 1000, auto sensing. Supports LPR if you need it. It does support WEP, but you don't want to use it. They're always backward compatible. It does WPA2 PSK. It does WPA PSK. It does Enterprise. It does denial of service protection, which is nice to prevent those kind of attacks. It has a little thing that's kind of like a little more of a firewall now. They're trying to make the home things a little more like a firewall. The thing I like with the Asus product is they bundle in some great gateway services. Now, not fantastic, but great, good enough that it will catch some sites that could get you into trouble. And I think that's remarkable that they include that into their product and they don't charge you any extra money or yearly fee for it. So that's really cool. So we have the tri-band wireless, which is the smart technology. We have that. It's a nice product. But the fact that it could do 3,200, ladies and gentlemen, $271.99. Now, if we were to look at the, if we were going to look at the Netgear, the highest Netgear, ladies and gentlemen, that they currently have, and this is one of the reasons, Asus, I feel, they make motherboards too, if you didn't know. They got their act together. I mean, they have routers that are great, and they have switches that are great. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Netgear Bay Networks. I mean, they were kind of, they're synonymous. That was the component there. But I think, when you're talking about a router, for example, and you're talking in the Netgear line, okay, you're going to pay for their highest number right now is the 7,200, okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, sit down because you're going to be blown away with how fast this router can go. You ready, ladies and gentlemen? The Netgear, okay, can go at 7.2 gigabits per second. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Gigabits per second. So that's the one that'll be about $400, okay? But if we're going to look at, let's say, an Asus router, and I give you the fastest Asus router. Remember, Asus might be a little bit behind because they're trying to be careful because, again, they're developing something that is really, I don't want to say mission critical, but when Asus develops stuff, they really develop very good quality products. You pay a lot more money for Asus, okay? But now, remember I told you that Asus does have a router. Remember the one I told you that they have, their flagship product, okay, is close to the other Nighthawk. It's $5,334, okay? That's it. Now, why did they not go to 7 like the other one does? I can tell you. The main reason they didn't do it is the other one probably works, but here's the thing that they don't explain to you when you buy these routers, is that for it to get 7.4, I think I said it was 7. It was actually 7.4, and that router was just around the same price tag. It was coming in at $399. Okay, was normally $449. They are on sale, I believe, this week. That's coming at 7.2 gigabits of data transfer rate. Okay, that is a huge, huge difference, and it's the Nighthawk X10 is the one that I'm actually looking at. But keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have the right Wi-Fi cards and you don't have the right specifications, you're not getting that technology. So they're getting a fast Ethernet, ladies and gentlemen. They're getting gigabit speeds. Now listen to this. They could support gigabit speeds of 10 gigabits. You don't see that, okay? But some of our providers, Comcast, Cablevision, Altice, and Time Warner, and whoever else is out there, they're starting to offer these services, and they're starting to be offered in the home, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. So we have wireless AC, and you're probably wondering, well, what's the new standard? You knew it was coming, didn't you? Well, yes, it is. The new standard, ladies and gentlemen, is 802.11ad, and it is kick butt fast. I mean, so fast that it's giving standards at 7 gigabits per second. So why is it that Asus doesn't have it out? I'll be very honest with you. Remember, Asus manufactures components, not just routers. They do motherboards and things like that. Asus won't just throw a product out just to say, hey, you know, they want to make sure they've got it, okay? And if they're offering 7 gigabits per second, I can tell you that it's probably not going to work 90% of the time because there's so many variables. When you get up to above 2 gigahertz, I'm going to tell you that probably more than half of you won't even have a lab-like environment that's going to get it to work at that efficiency at 60 to 70% of the time. Let's be honest. So if you go buy the 7 gigabits per second, okay, I tell you don't buy it. You know why I tell you that? Because the technology is still being, I'm going to say, standardized and tweaked. And Asus knows this. They know this. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you stay right where you are. We'll have a quick break, and we'll be right back after this break. Computers always slow at your home or office. Pop-ups always appearing. Setting up smart devices like your iPhone, thermostats, downloading apps, and much more. Mention code JRC001 and receive a PC tweak for only $49.99. New clients only, please. Visit JMOR.com now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to the JMOR Tech Talk Show right here on the Starcom Radio Network. And if you'd like to call us during the show, you can call us right now live. If you're calling between 9 p.m. and 9:57 p.m. on a Thursday night, you can feel free to call us at 973-826-0981. Tonight, if you just joined us, we are talking about the new world of routers. Since everything in our life, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's a phone, whether it's, you heard me talk about the Internet of Things, whether it is a Fitbit device, whatever it is, whether it's a button, it doesn't matter what it is, it has to have connectivity to either a phone or to some other Wi-Fi. Now, there are two things that require to have more Wi-Fi. One, if you need more bandwidth and better Wi-Fi if you have more people using it. Makes sense, right? You take the number and you divide it, you're going to have less Wi-Fi. The other thing is if people are streaming more and they're starting to download a lot more things. And it's not just those quick things, but really almost watching it like TV, whether they're using the Xfinity app or, they're doing things like that. I think that's probably very important to note that that's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen, because you need to make sure that, that you have the right Wi-Fi. And as, let's say, curiosities around the corner and more apps and more things that can tie into the home, Wi-Fi is going to need to be souped up. So I'm just going to tell you right now, if you still have, and I'm not knocking Belkin. Belkin was a very, very good product. But you probably remember, I think it was actually another product that was good. It was actually a Linksys, and many of you probably remember this, and this was a great router, okay? But if you still have a router that has two ears on it, maybe it's blue, okay? It has the word Linksys on it, and let's say it has just two ears in the back, okay? And on the front, it's going to basically say Wireless G Broadband Router or the WRT54GL. Well, I got some good news and bad news. The good news is that always makes a fantastic paperweight. No, seriously. The bad news is you're not going to be able to get very much throughput on the back end because if the pipe can't handle whatever the maximum pipe speed is, let's just say that pipe could only handle, maybe it could only handle 10 or 20, okay, or maybe a little more than that. You're not going to be able to handle high speeds, okay? You're not going to handle 50 or 100. It wasn't going to handle that, ladies and gentlemen. The whole router, I don't think the whole router could even handle, it was actually a G router, okay? It was a 4-port, and you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It supported 100. I'll take that back. It did support 100, okay, on the WAN side. Now, we're starting to surpass that with some people with higher speeds. But the LAN connections, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. They were auto-sensing at 10,100. They weren't at 1,000. And I got some other bad news for you. If you're running anything above Windows Vista, the way IP addressing gets done and the calls get made in Windows 7, Windows 10, you're not using a Linksys WRT54G. So maybe you want to just use that as a paperweight, or maybe you want to frame it and put it on your wall for posterity. Whatever you'd like to do is completely up to you. But it's kind of amazing because this is what's happening. We need to have a better router. That's really what it's coming down to. If we can have a better router and we can have a better infrastructure at home, then we're going to be great. So is Asus going to come out with an AD router? Yeah, they're going to come out with one. Is it going to come out soon? Probably not tomorrow. Probably not next week. But the Asus AD router will come out probably within the next... I think we're looking probably in the next... I'd say before the end of the year. And that's kind of a guesstimate. But the problem that we're going to see is that the new router that they're kind of working on, and there's some speculation on this, it actually says it looks like Dyson's bladeless fan. Kind of interesting. And it doesn't even look like a router. I mean, it's just kind of interesting. And why is that? It's because of the antenna. That's kind of where it is. But the stores are not really carrying it. So we're going to have to wait and see what's going to go on with that. But it's going to be a pretty nice high-end router. It's going to use the latest Intel Wi-Fi chipset, and it's going to have Trend Micro protection just like the one I have now. So I think that's great how they include that Trend Micro protection built into the gateway services at the home, which I think is great. Every connected smart device on the network will have that Trend Micro ability, including your IoT and Internet of Devices. But what's going to be kind of unique about it is that it's going to be very unique, it's going to be attractive, and it's going to have that central kind of center aperture that's has a gentle blue light that's going to, I guess, be a conversation piece for those people that you invite over. So many routers out there are going to, they basically, they stopped doing the some of the MIMO technology, and they started supporting mesh networking. The ASUS model is going to offer a mobile app with the granular user controls to pad out its smart functionality, which I think is going to be kind of cool. They have a nickname for it. It's the IFTTT. Supports a nice extra, though, that they're going to put with that. So we're going to see this probably soon. And the thing is, all this technology that we have right now, we need to have a good network. And why do we need a good network? In your home, you need good plumbing, right? Well, you need a good network, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't have a good network, you don't have good pipes, you don't get water all the time, right? So if you don't have a good network, here's what happens. You can't play those new latest and greatest video games like we all like to do, those interactive games. I mean, the thing about games is, and I've always liked games, one of my very first games that I liked was an interesting game called King's Quest VII. But not to get into that. The games now are not just involving the brain, but they're involving the body, and then based on the sensors, they're able to feed back and give data. So people say, oh, wow, I mean, now the game can become different every single time you use it. So I think that's kind of cool. And bottom line is that Wi-Fi usage is going to increase in our home. I mean, why else are we going to the 5G technology for our cell phones? It's going to be pretty amazing. So the things I like about Netgear is Netgear they made pretty interesting. I'm not crazy about the Wizard. I've set up so many routers that I never use the wizards. I just go in and set up things the way I want them to do. I want to set up what I want to set up and not what they want me to set up or skip certain things. So, and there's other options like with these routers. They let you hide the network if you want to. You can enable the MAC encryption so that if you don't have the MAC address in there, the computer's not even going to talk to it. If you hide the network, people could still find it, just the name won't broadcast. And but if you have the MAC encryption turned on, not only do you need to know the password, but it won't even talk to you or acknowledge you unless you're Mac. So that's great because if you're losing a lot of traffic, that can happen. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, stay right where you are. We're going to have another quick break, and I'll be right back, so stay right there.
For IT services and data destruction, the JMOR connection should be your direction. Engineer technology to grow your business. Our custom solutions are at your service. JMOR should be your direction. The JMOR connection.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned into the JMOR Tech Talk Show right here on the Starcom Radio Network. We're just about coming almost to the close of our time of our show. I don't know where the time goes, ladies and gentlemen, but we have a few minutes left, so we'll make this good. But anybody, if you'd like to call in and you have questions or comments about Wi-Fi, 802.11ac, 802.11ad, which is the new 7 gigahertz, 7 gigahertz. So that's going to be pretty amazing. And I know you probably never even heard of the 802.11ad before. But the new 802.11ad wireless technology is just starting to hit the market. They said that in September, but really, it's just starting to hit now because the manufacturers weren't really ready for it. I mean, that's really the thing. So you still have 7 gigabits per second versus the 3.2 is kind of amazing. And having that starting point going from 1200, then the 1900, and you can imagine that the router, because the way it works is if you're paying a lot of money, and I say $300-400, you're paying a high end for a router, you're getting the latest and greatest. Okay, when I bought my router at home, I actually paid quite a bit of money for it because I bought something that was not mainstream yet. It's good to buy something just not when it becomes mainstream, but maybe a month or two after it's hit, not mainstream, but just been announced, because if there's any issues or revisions. So that's kind of, what's going on there. But we're going to see a lot of people really flock to this 7 gigabits. I mean, this is just going to make, I think this is going to make life so amazing. And it's going to change people's Wi-Fi experience. The 802.11ad technology. So what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means that if you have access points out there and you want to take advantage of the 802.11 gigabits per second, well, you now have to have an access point that can handle that, okay? That's probably the biggest thing, but I don't want you to think that just because you have a 7 gigabits per second router that you're going to get 7 gigabits per second. Because if you don't have the new 802.11ad compatible network cards in your laptops, your computers, you're going to be operating at the same 1200, 1900. So, make sure you understand that before you just go buy that, because the salespeople are very notorious to want to just say, hey, let's go buy the latest and greatest. And one thing I always like our clients to understand is that you need to make sure that you have all the required components to have it work correctly. For example, if you're putting an intercom system in your house, you need to have the intercom, you need to have the tools to do the installation, you need to have the wiring, you need to have the power supply, okay? You need to have any circuit breakers if you need those to put a circuit in. You need to make sure you have any connectors. If you need any amps, you need to make sure you have all that in there. You need to make sure you have the antenna wire. And if you don't have one piece of this, guess what happens? The system won't be fully functional. If you didn't have the right connectors, you couldn't connect the DVD or the iPhone pad docking station into the actual master console. So a lot of stuff happening, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of stuff happening. And I want to let you know we are working on improving our audio. So that is definitely getting better. I know we had a couple little minor glitches, but we are working on it, and I do appreciate your patience. So we have some more mics coming in, actually, I believe next week. So we have some new equipment coming in again. We have a great soundboard, so I know we're definitely sounding better, but we really want to make this experience really rich and very vibrant for all of you. And I hope those of you listening tonight, will decide to call in sometime, because we're here to answer all your tech questions. Whether you have a question about your PC, whether you have a question about your iPhone, whether you have questions about, what sites are secure or what sites aren't secure. How do I know where to shop? How do I not know where to shop, right? And I brought this in today and wanted to talk about routers because I knew the 802.11ad was coming out. And I know back about a year, I think when I was actually on a ski trip. And we broadcast remotely. That was fun. And when I did that, I know there were some challenges with that recording. Something happened up in the mountains anyway. When you travel, it's always fun, especially when you are trying to broadcast outside in below 0 degrees. That's always a slight challenge, right? So listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions or any thoughts, you can always call us. You can always drop us a line by visiting JMOR.com. Our live chat's available 24 hours a day. You can chat with one of our friendly representatives, arrange a service call, and of course, not only that, you can give us your suggestions for what you'd like to do on the show, questions or whatever. And if you're an expert in a specific area, whether it's maybe it's the medical profession or something else that uses a very unique piece of technology, and you're interested in being a guest on one of our shows, please visit jmor.com, and we'll be happy to consider your offering and talk with you about it, and hopefully we can get you on one of the shows. So again, we only have a few more minutes left. So what's happening in July? I will be giving you the date very soon for when we'll be doing the golf technology show. I'm getting really pumped about that. I mean, we're going to talk about the technology that is going to power golf courses. And without this technology, the golf courses may not even be in business because they'll be in the black. So it's kind of like you've heard the thing like these bar shows where they keep them up and running. Well, this is kind of like that, only it's not a show. This is technology from how the golf carts run to how the beverage systems work. Everything to making sure, to fertilization, to making sure that the golf course is profitable. That's what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. And I think you're going to really enjoy that show. I've also got another great show coming up in August. I'm going to be talking about heart math, and I'm trying to get the people from heart math to come on our show. You know, I do talk about quantum physics here and there, and I don't bore you too much about it, but as I was mentioning once before, there's so much in our world that a lot of people are not even aware of. And Dr. Wayne Dwyer made a very, very good statement, and he passed away not too long ago, but I always admired him. He said that in our world, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And I want to leave you with a very interesting inspiration before we close tonight. If I asked you a question, ladies and gentlemen, I said to you, what is the most powerful part of your body? What has the most, let's say, electrical control? And if I asked this question to you, you know what you would say to me? You'd say, John, there's only one part in our body that has that much control. And what's that? It's our brain. And you would not be correct, because the brain is actually the second most organ in our body that has the most electrical control. The first organ in our body that has the most electrical control, you know what it is? It's our heart. And something really interesting, ladies and gentlemen, our heart has a brain. Now, not to get too deep into this, but I'm going to explain to you how consciousness works, and how we're going to use technology to prove consciousness, and how something as simple as taking a reading on our heart and understanding how our heart connects. If you were just to put your hand on your heart and you were to think about something and intentionally try to think about it with your heart, you'll find that you have a greater chance of that coming through. Most people spend hours trying to get things to happen from their brain, but their brain isn't what's going to make things happen, ladies and gentlemen. It's our heart. Our heart is the hidden organ in our body that can unlock so much potential. And I've been studying the heart for quite a while, but it's only been the last few months that I started to realize the potential of what the heart can do. And this came from a very interesting gentleman who gave a talk in Italy, and I think it was in Milan, Italy. And it was absolutely amazing. And the things that he talked about, they were just so... I don't have words for them. I'm like literally speechless about them. There is so much potential in our body, and we are very technologically advanced. In fact, even more technologically advanced than any computer. And the thing I know that'll blow your mind is that our world is entirely connected. Everyone in the world is connected. I'm going to talk more about that in another show in August. And we're going to talk about how the heart actually makes connections with the world. And that is going to be an amazing show, because I'm going to demonstrate a piece of technology that's going to allow us to prove things right on the air. So that is going to be an amazing, amazing show. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know we've come to the top of the hour. I hope that you have found tonight's show to be interesting. Of course, I hope you found it to be entertaining. But what I hope is that not only did you learn something yourself, but maybe something that you thought about before this show tonight has just appeared in your mind, or recently did. And if it hasn't now, maybe it will later tonight or tomorrow, or maybe when this rebroadcasts. Or you can come and listen to it again at jmor.com and then click on JMOR Radio Social and then go to YouTube because we have many of our shows up there. I hope that you will get an inspiration so that just maybe one thing you look at completely changes in your life because now you've looked at it a completely different way. Well, listen, I hope you tell your friends and your colleagues about the JMOR Tech Talk Show, and I hope you'll continue to listen, and I hope that you'll call us again soon, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you all had a happy, healthy, and safe 4th of July. I know this is a quick week, and then it's the weekend, so tomorrow's Friday already. Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, listen, I got to run. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope the weather's just perfect for you, and I'll see you next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
From all of us at the JMOR Connection Incorporated, we'd like to thank you for listening and invite you to join us again next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to tell your friends, colleagues, and associates about the JMOR Tech Talk Show. We're here every Thursday night on the Starcom Radio Network at 9 p.m. Eastern. If you missed any of our shows, you can just walk on over to jmor.com, click on social, and then under JMOR Radio, just click on previously recorded episodes. We'll see you next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Have a great week.